Hello and welcome back to another episode of Electrified Reviews. I hope you are having an absolutely awesome day and I hope you're ready to dive into this review. Today we are reviewing the AddMotoR Wildtan M-5600 and let me tell you, this is the one fat tire electric bike to rule them all. And no, not just because it has some great specs, which it does, but because it has the absolute fattest fat tires we have seen to date, 4.5 inches by 26 inches, just for the record. The Wildtan M5600 has an eye-watering starting price of $3,599 USD and comes in one frame size, which is 19 inches, and has three different color options: Classic Black, that's the color we received for review, Camo, and Volcano Ash. This e-bike is billed as a hunting machine, and with those absolutely massive 4.5-inch fat tires, you really could get pretty deep into the backwoods. Alright, let's dive into the specs. The Wildtan M5600 has a Bafang BBSHD mid-drive motor that can kick out an impressive 1,000 nominal watts of power and 160 Newton meters of torque. Once you ride an e-bike with a Bafang BBSHD, you'll never forget this motor. It's a monster, and because it's a mid-drive, it's able to leverage the bike's gearing, which means you can throw it in first and crawl up the steepest, nastiest, muddiest, mountainiest hill you can find, or you can kick it into high gear and you can tear down the trails at over 28 miles per hour. Plus, this motor's location keeps the center of gravity nice and low. So what's the downside, you might ask? And that is a great question. The downside to this motor is it's a cadence sensor, which means there's some latency with motor activation and deactivation. But look, the Wildtan M5600 isn't really a downhill e-mountain bike or anything, so a little latency isn't a big deal. But with a price tag of $3,599 USD, it just feels like this e-bike should get an upgrade to a sweet, buttery smooth torque sensor. You know what I mean? The battery on the Wildtan M5600 is a 48-volt, 17.5 amp-hour system with Panasonic cells, and AddMotoR estimates the max range here is going to be around 60 miles, but realistically, between the monster truck-sized fat tires and electron-guzzling motor, you're probably going to get around 30 miles or so of range, which honestly still is pretty good. The battery is locking and removable and also has a USB-C port so you can charge up your accessories on the go. This may seem like it's just a small feature, but if you are in the middle of nowhere and your phone is out of juice, this is a nice backup battery that can potentially save the day. Of course, that does mean you do have to bring your phone charger, so don't forget that. The Wildtan M5600 is heavy, with a curb weight of around 70 pounds or so, and riding it feels a little bit like driving a houseboat. Those tires are they're huge, they're so massive, and that's great because it gives the Wildtan M5600 incredible stability, but it really wants to stay upright, and it's pretty sluggish in the turns. In other words, this is no racer, but when it comes to slogging through super muddy trails, or even just blazing your own fresh trail, it's gonna be hard to beat the Wildtan M5600. At the back of the bike, we've got a Shimano Alivio 9-speed derailleur with trigger shifters and shift detection. This is a strong, capable derailleur, and that's exactly what you want when you've got more than 1,000 watts of power coursing through the drivetrain. You absolutely need a derailleur like this that can handle that level of stress, and better yet, the shift detection on this e-bike is super snappy and works really well. To bring the Wildtan M5600 to a stop, we've got Tektro Auriga hydraulic disc brakes with 180mm rotors in the front and the rear. This is a tried and true brake setup, and even though it's only a dual piston, it's got loads of stopping power. The brake levers are also equipped with motor inhibitors, so you'll never have to fight against that behemoth of a motor when you're trying to stop. That's an excellent safety feature, especially for a powerful bike like this that has a cadence sensor. The suspension on the Wildtan M5600 look awesome, and I love that they are air forks instead of springs. It just gives them an added smoothness when they compress. These are unbranded suspension with 120mm of travel, and they are inverted, which lowers the unsprung mass, but honestly, the suspension here feels pretty underwhelming, and even small jumps feel like falling off a cliff. It's a bit shocking. I know, please leave your golf claps for that terrible joke in the comments. I know, it was bad. I had to do it though. I think for the starting price of $3,599 USD, again, it would just be nice to have some name brand suspension built for hard hits. But look, again, the Wildtan M5600 is being billed as a hunting electric bike, and for that purpose, this suspension here is going to be fine. Wire management is fine as well, and although it's a bit messy in the bundle, it does interfere with the headlight, there's a huge bonus points here for them being internally routed. This is going to help protect the wires from getting snagged, especially when going under thick, low-hanging branches, but it's also going to protect them from the elements as well. The headlight here is a great safety feature that helps to increase your visibility when riding in low light conditions, but it's not particularly bright. So if you plan on riding at night, I would definitely suggest grabbing an aftermarket headlight with at least 2,000 lumens of light. Look, it sounds like overkill, I know, but when you're hitting trails at 28 plus miles per hour, you're gonna want a super bright headlight, or maybe even two. On the handlebars, we've got the button pad, display, trigger shifters, and throttle. The color LCD display here is really a nice upgrade from the traditional grayscale screens that we're used to seeing, but it is a bit difficult to see in direct sunlight. Thankfully though, you can adjust the angle of the display here to compensate for this just a little bit. Overall, the Wildtan M5600 is a great choice for bikepackers, hunters, or anyone else who wants to get deep into the backwoods on less than ideal trails. The absolutely gargantuan 4.5-inch tires are literally going to float over just about everything, and that 1,000 watt mid-drive is going to give you more than enough power, torque, and speed to overcome practically every obstacle. And AddMotoR does have plenty of accessories like a rear rack, trailer, and front basket to give the Wildtan M5600 even more functionality. Alright, that is it for the review of the Wildtan M5600. Now, let's take it out for a ride.
Oh, here comes the big one. Take it.